As evening fell, the Lincoln Hotel's grand ballroom in New York's Upper East Side glowed with splendor. Crystal chandeliers cast dreamlike reflections while elite guests exchanged elegant conversation. Emma stood before a mirror in the hotel lobby, making a final adjustment to her champagne-colored backless evening gown, and took a deep breath. This charity gala had gathered Wall Street's most influential investors, presenting her with a perfect opportunity to pitch her project. However, just as she was about to enter the ballroom, a familiar voice made her steps falter.
What a surprise to see you here, Emma.
Brad wore a silver-gray tailored suit, a playful smile on his face, while beside him Olivia stood in a striking red mermaid dress, her gaze tinged with contempt.
Good evening, Brad, Olivia.
She gracefully brushed past them, though her heart rippled with unease. The appearance of this couple here was certainly no coincidence. Inside the ballroom, amidst the clinking of glasses, Emma keenly noticed a low-key figure in the corner. The man in a dark tailored suit was Jack. Though he had appeared at several critical moments before, she still couldn't figure out his true identity. Emma quickly turned her attention to her target investors, having done thorough preparation.
Mr. Wilson, I'm delighted to see you here. I'm currently working on an innovative fintech project, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Just as Wilson showed interest, Brad suddenly appeared in the conversation circle.
Mr. Wilson, I see you haven't heard about Emma's brilliant performance at her last job.
He smiled meaningfully. Wilson's expression noticeably changed. Before Emma could explain, Olivia skillfully redirected the conversation.
Speaking of which, many similar projects in the market haven't been doing well lately.
She cast a seemingly casual glance at Emma. The air suddenly grew tense. Emma noticed the investors around beginning to subtly distance themselves from her. She forced herself to remain calm, but internally realized that Brad and Olivia had likely done considerable preparation work before her arrival. Just then, a waiter announced the next phase of the evening would continue in the adjacent modern art gallery. At the other end of the ballroom, an elegant silver-haired lady watched everything thoughtfully. Sarah took a sip of champagne, her eyes flashing with meaning. In the gallery, the interplay of light and shadow from modern artworks added a dramatic element to the gathering of financial elites. Emma stood before an abstract painting, using this moment to gather her thoughts. She knew she needed to find a breakthrough, or the evening would spiral out of control.
I heard you're seeking funding for your project?
A deep voice sounded behind her. Emma turned to find Jack standing there with his characteristic mysterious expression, though his eyes seemed to hold encouragement.
Yes, though the process hasn't been smooth.
Sometimes, adversity is the best opportunity to prove yourself.
After delivering this meaningful remark, he turned and walked away. In a dark corner of the gallery's second floor, Brad was speaking with several important investors.
To be honest, with Emma's experience, it would be difficult for her to handle such a large project. I'm thinking of the investors' interests when she was at our company.
When she was at your company, what?
An elegant and magnetic female voice interrupted him. Sarah approached with graceful steps, her silver-gray hair shimmering softly under the lights, her deep purple suit exuding extraordinary presence. Brad was momentarily speechless. He had never met this lady before, but his instincts told him she was someone not to be trifled with.
You might have misunderstood the situation.
I'm curious. Is your company's way of nurturing young talent through backstabbing them?
Her voice wasn't loud, but carried undeniable authority. Brad attempted to explain, but Sarah waved him off.
Let's focus on the project itself. Emma,
She suddenly turned to Emma, who had approached unnoticed.
I heard your project incorporates AI technology with traditional financial analysis. Could you elaborate?
Emma was startled. She hadn't expected this stranger to not only defend her, but also know so much about her project. But she quickly regained her composure.
Yes, we're using the latest machine learning algorithms.
For the next 20 minutes, Emma confidently demonstrated her expertise. She analyzed market trends in detail, showcased technological innovations, and emphasized the project's profit model. Sarah occasionally interjected with professional questions, each hitting key points, while Emma's responses consistently earned approving nods from the investors present. Olivia stood at the crowd's edge, watching the sudden turn of events with helplessness. She pulled out her phone and rapidly sent several messages, seemingly seeking backup. Her confident demeanor from earlier had completely vanished.
Well done. Clear thinking, strong arguments, and notably, you've considered regulatory compliance issues.
She turned to the other investors.
This project has potential. I'm personally very interested.
The weight of this statement immediately caused a stir in the crowd. While most people didn't know Sarah's true identity, her demonstrated expertise and market insight had won everyone's respect. Brad's face darkened. He hadn't anticipated a stranger derailing his carefully laid plans. At this moment, Jack emerged from a corner. He actively engaged in conversation with Sarah, their interaction appearing casual, yet carrying an inexplicable chemistry. Emma keenly sensed that none of this was coincidental. Outside the gallery's floor-to-ceiling windows, Manhattan's skyline glittered brilliantly. Emma stood by the window, contemplating the dramatic turn of events tonight. Sarah approached her.
You're more impressive than I expected.
Thank you for your help, although I still don't know who you are.
What matters isn't who I am, but what your future holds. Trust me, tonight is just the beginning.
With that, she turned and left elegantly, leaving Emma deep in thought. On the gallery's terrace, the night breeze was cool. Sarah stood alone, gazing at New York's brilliant nightscape. Moments later, Jack appeared.
You were too obvious tonight. It's not like your style.
Some pieces are worth breaking the rules for.
She turned to look at Jack.
Don't tell me you haven't taken special notice of her.
She is special indeed. But now isn't the time.
Jack avoided a direct answer, but his expression betrayed deeper thoughts.
Time waits for no one. Some people have already set their sights on her.
Sarah's words carried a weight of hidden significance. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in the gallery had completely changed. Emma found that investors who had previously been cold to her were now actively engaging in conversation. Her project proposal, with Sarah's support, had received preliminary approval from several investors. At the bar counter, Brad sat with a dark expression. Olivia approached him.
Who is this Sarah? I've searched all social networks but can't find any information about her.
Regardless of who she is, Emma's appearance has seriously threatened our plans. She must be dealt with.
His eyes glinted with malice.
What do you want to do?
She leaned closer, speaking in hushed tones.
In this circle, reputation is everything. Since she wants to establish herself here, we'll make sure she crashes spectacularly.
His voice carried a chilling determination. Emma was unaware of the dark conversation. She was discussing project details with a senior investor when she noticed Jack watching her thoughtfully. When she tried to respond, he had already turned away. Interesting young person. You're lucky to have Sarah's appreciation.
Do you know Sarah?
Her heart skipped a beat as she asked the question. In this circle, who doesn't know her? The investor replied with a knowing smile, but offered no further explanation, leaving the mystery intact. As the night deepened and guests began to leave, Emma was surprised to find Sarah waiting for her at the gallery entrance.
Are you free tomorrow noon? I'd like to learn more about your project.
Walking towards the parking garage, Emma's mind replayed the evening's details. Sarah's appearance, Jack's attitude, and all those subtle hints suggested a bigger mystery was unfolding. Each piece seemed part of a larger puzzle. The luxury car slowly departed from the hotel. Brad stood at a second-floor window, watching Emma's retreating figure, his eyes flashing with malice. He picked up his phone.
It's me. Yes, I need you to investigate someone as thoroughly as possible.
Under New York's night sky, Emma stood before her apartment's floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city lights. She knew tonight's turning point was just the beginning. The road ahead was long, but at least she seemed to have found unexpected allies. In her luxury apartment study, Sarah sat before her laptop, the screen displaying Emma's detailed background information. She sighed softly.
I hope this time we can stay ahead of them.
Back home, Emma immediately opened her laptop to revise the project proposal. Sarah's questions had revealed potential vulnerabilities in her plan. Moonlight spilled across her desk as the clock struck 2 in the morning. Her phone suddenly vibrated with a message from an unknown number.
Your performance was impressive. However, the most difficult challenges lie ahead. G.
The next day at noon, in a discreet Michelin-starred restaurant in Midtown Manhattan, Emma arrived on time to find Sarah already there. Sarah had chosen a secluded corner seat with a clear view of the entire restaurant.
You look like you haven't slept much.
Sarah commented while elegantly cutting her steak.
I spent all night revising the proposal. Your questions made me realize several issues.
You know what? On Wall Street, the real danger isn't making mistakes. It's not knowing where you went wrong.
She set down her cutlery.
Tell me, how much do you know about Brad?
Other than knowing he works at Goldman.
Before Emma could finish, Sarah cut her off.
He's not just an ordinary investment bank VP. The forces behind him are far more complex than you imagine.
Just then, Sarah's phone rang. She glanced at it, her expression changing subtly.
Sorry, I need to handle an emergency.
Before leaving, she handed Emma a business card.
Contact me if you run into trouble. Remember, in the circle, what matters isn't who you've offended, but who your allies are.
Emma examined the card, which contained only a phone number without a name. Just then, a familiar figure appeared at the restaurant entrance, Olivia walking in with an unknown man.
This project is Brad's special focus. We must ensure everything goes perfectly. Oh, speaking of that Emma girl, I heard she's been asking around.
Olivia deliberately chose a seat near Emma, raising her voice. The unknown man whispered something, and Olivia smiled more smugly.
Don't worry, we're well prepared. She'll soon learn there are places she shouldn't touch.
Emma forced herself to remain calm, pretending to focus on her phone, but her mind was racing, instincts telling her that Brad and Olivia's scheme was far more elaborate than it appeared on the surface. After leaving the restaurant, Emma went straight to the office. In the elevator, she received an email from Brad titled, "Friendly Reminder." The content was simple.
Smart people know when to back off. This is your final warning.
At the end of the corridor, Jack was on the phone. He noticed Emma and nodded in acknowledgement, but his eyes carried a warning. Emma understood that something significant was about to unfold. In the afternoon investor meeting, Emma sensed something was off. Several investors who had shown strong interest in the project now appeared distinctly cold. One even directly expressed intention to withdraw funding.
We've received some unfavorable information. Perhaps we need to reassess the project's viability.
The investor spoke diplomatically, but the implication was clear. After the meeting, Emma stood alone by her office window, gazing at Manhattan's skyline. Storm clouds gathered in the sky, seeming to forecast the approaching tempest.
They've started moving.
Why are you here?
Sarah leaned against the doorframe.
Visiting an old friend. And checking if you need any help.
They're spreading rumors about me, and it's working.
Emma gave a bitter smile. Sarah nodded.
This is just the beginning. Brad has extensive connections in the industry. He'll use every possible relationship to pressure you. However, this also means he's starting to fear you.
She paused meaningfully and reached into her bag.
First, you need to see this. This USB drive contains information Brad doesn't want others to know. Of course, using it comes with risks.
Why are you helping me?
Emma stared directly into Sarah's eyes. Sarah held her gaze.
Because I see my younger self in you. Sometimes, Destiny's gears need someone to push them forward. Remember, in this game, what matters isn't how many chips you have, but whether you dare to use them.
Walking to the door, she delivered these final words before leaving. After Sarah left, Emma inserted the USB drive. As she opened file after file, her pupils gradually dilated. These weren't just simple business secrets, but the tip of an enormous conspiracy iceberg. Rain began to fall outside, droplets tapping against the window with sharp clarity. Emma closed her laptop and reached for her phone.
Jack, we need to talk.
Evening at a coffee shop near Brooklyn Bridge. Jack was already waiting, his coffee seemingly cold.
I guess Sarah gave you something, that's why you're sitting here now.
Those files.
Before Emma could finish, Jack interrupted.
They're real. But that's not the point. The point is how you plan to use them.
I want to know who you really are. Why are you helping me?
Emma stared directly into Jack's eyes, seeking answers.
Sometimes knowing too much can be a burden.
Jack sipped his cold coffee.
But I can tell you this: Sarah isn't just an ordinary venture capital mogul. Her influence on Wall Street is far greater than anyone imagines.
And you?
Jack smiled without answering, instead saying,
There's an important press conference tomorrow morning. I suggest you attend.
The next morning, Emma arrived early at the press conference. The hall was already filled with media reporters. She noticed Sarah standing in the corner while Jack sat in the front row, both appearing confidently prepared. Just as the press conference was about to begin, Brad and Olivia appeared. Seeing Emma, Brad displayed a sarcastic smile.
Hope you're ready.
Emma walked to the podium without acknowledging him. As she stood before the microphone, the entire hall fell silent.
Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to talk about today isn't just about a project, but about the integrity and future of this industry.
She opened her laptop, and the projection screen began displaying a series of data and documents. Brad's face suddenly turned pale.
These documents show that over the past 3 years, certain individuals have been engaging in large-scale insider trading. And this is just the beginning of the conspiracy.
The venue erupted in commotion, camera flashes flickering everywhere. Brad stood up trying to say something, but was immediately surrounded by rushing reporters. Olivia fled the scene in panic. Sarah watched all this with satisfaction, turning to Jack.
Looks like we chose the right person.
Jack nodded.
Yes, but this is just the beginning.
After the press conference, Emma stood on the building's top terrace, looking at New York's skyline. Sarah approached.
Ready for the challenges ahead?
Emma smiled.
Of course, especially with the best allies by my side.